The dystopia is upon us. And people just don't care. They're just letting it happen. Nobody's paying attention. America is slowly embracing ID checks for the internet. From my good friend Optimus. I'm not actually friends with him, he doesn't know me, but I like to watch his videos.
Alright, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about a new development that has been going on in the last few years here in the United States in regards to how we handle the internet. It's something that I think is kind of flying a little bit under the radar. Now, some of you watching this video will almost certainly live in states where some of these new restrictions that I'm going to be talking about in this video have already been rolled out. As of now, several states have already enacted legislation that requires websites, specifically more of, adult websites, NSFW websites, basically having to verify the age of users beforehand. Now, this has been a concept that has been talked about for years here on the internet, right? What would it look like if the internet went from more of this?
Oh, it's not a problem. I'm of age, so I don't mind giving them my age. I got nothing to hide. You're just giving them more data. This is what you're doing. They use that against you. There's a reason they want that. They use it against you to manipulate you, for one, to get you to buy products. It's like the main thing. It's all for money and power. What does it got to do to me? What have I got to hide? Your personal life? Your freedom?
This digital Wild West that we've kind of always known it as, and it went a more, traditional route where instead of everybody being anonymous and talking about things online without fear of repercussions, people would actually, show their ID or verify themselves in some way so that we can solve a whole slew of different problems. Basically,
yeah, look at the UK right now. They're arresting people for their social media posts.
Age verification, ID verification, it's kind of the same thing at this point. The reason why is because a lot of these places are using ID verification as the form of age verification. So basically, in these states where this is already enacted, you want to say, go look at a nudie website or whatever, right? You go to the website, it tells you like, hey, your state congressman or whatever has helped enable some legislation that makes us verify your age, and you basically have to enter in like a verification process for your ID and whatnot. Usually it's like a scan or whatever. Now, obviously, a lot of people probably aren't fans of this new concept, but it is one that is slow.
Looks like I'm gonna be investing in me fake ID.
Slowly but surely becoming more and more embraced by the country at large. And in this video, I want to talk about this phenomena, some of the more recent developments that have come along with it, as well as the potential consequences or outcomes that this could really lead to. So, a campaign by social media giant Meta to force app store giants Google and Apple to verify the ages of their users is picking up momentum with legislators in Congress.
Why? Why? Is it because kids are getting access to terrible apps and we gotta protect children? Get them off the phones! Get them off the internet! It's not hard! Why are you locking everybody else out? You know it's not actually for the children. That's just the excuse that they make. They just want control.
Federal and state lawmakers have recently proposed a raft of measures requiring that platforms such as Meta's Facebook and Instagram block users under a certain age from using their sites. The push has triggered fierce debate over the best way to ascertain how old users are online. Last year, Meta threw its support behind legislation that would push those obligations onto the app stores rather than individual app providers like itself, as your regular host and Naomi Nix reported. While some states have considered the plan, it has not gained much traction in Washington.
I don't trust Google to actually do this right either. They just recently started working on getting rid of all their scam apps that they have on the App Store. And they're still everywhere.
that could be shifting. So like I said, we've already seen the beginning waves of this starting to roll out. Usually, like I said, it's pretty much aimed towards almost exclusively the nudie websites. Some of it has been more aimed towards even social media restrictions as well. Now, maybe 15 years ago, I want to say, this probably was a debate that wouldn't even really be happening. I mean, sure, you could bring it up, but people would have never really taken something like this very seriously. I mean, this is definitely becoming a more and more new age kind of thinking.
Yeah, it's just the way the ball rolls, man. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse until we get tired of it and actually do something about it.
Because the anonymity that the internet provides has always been like the centerfold of the internet, right? Now you might be thinking, Optimus, why do you keep talking about privacy and about the digital Wild West and anonymity and whatnot when it comes to this stuff, right? They're just trying to protect the kids. They're just trying to protect people from seeing smut and garbage and stuff they shouldn't, right? Well, I understand the reason why this is being done, and unfortunately, this is just one of the many fronts that this whole thing is really being.
This is happening because parents are terrible parents. Well, at least that's what they're saying. We all know what it's really about. That whole COVID situation where they wanted to control what everybody was saying online.
Pushed on. And I think the reason that it's unfortunate is because it makes people think about the issue in a much more narrow way. Now, obviously, with social media, we have a lot of shit that obviously was not a problem 50 years ago, right? Like, you didn't have 4-year-old children doom scrolling TikTok all day just seeing the worst possible garbage being pushed into their brains, right? Back then, if the kids wanted to look at the screen, they had to go watch TV, and everything on TV was pretty regulated and whatnot, right? So now there's this more recent discussion of, oh, well, should we start forcing people to verify their age when it comes to social media and a bunch of other different things online? Now, the reasoning is they want to protect kids from social media and shit like that. Obviously, there's been plenty of studies out there that have shown all the negative impacts that growing up with social media really causes for children. And so now, as a society, people, I think, are more lenient towards shit like their kid watching 12 hours of TikTok a day than.
Yeah, but that's not our fault. That's the parents' fault who don't want to raise their kids. They just want to, here you go, here's a phone. I'm going to go sit on the couch and also do the same exact thing.
Even people were with video games 10 to 15 years ago, right? I remember a time when, people thought if you looked at the screen for too long, oh, you're going to burn your retinas. It's going to ruin your brain, kid. Now there's 4-year-old children, like I said, doom scrolling TikTok half of the day. So they're trying to find a way to make it to where kids aren't just consuming garbage from like the earliest of ages online. And they're trying to prevent people from going down these rabbit holes to where they become addicted to things like porn or they become addicted to things like social media. Now, the only real way to actually verify people's ages online is through ID verification. There's really no other way.
I'm not giving my ID to Facebook. Sorry, not fucking happening. I think this is going to be very bad for social media. A lot of people just aren't going to do it.
That's as actually effective. I mean, there are other ways that you could try, but there's so many loopholes for them. Having to like scan your ID or verify your ID actually verifies that, hey, this person is this age, this is where they live, yada, 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 right? Now, the thing is, with issues like this, it gets brought up like it's just a universally great thing. Like, oh, well, look at the social media companies like Meta. They're throwing their support behind this legislation to make these app developers and these app stores actually pay attention to the consequences. And I don't think people understand that this is a much more business-related decision with different motives than what are actually being presented. Now, I don't want to sit here and pretend like, preventing your child from looking at bad shit online is stupid, because obviously I think every parent in America is somewhat worried to at least a degree about the stuff that their kids could consume online. Now, when I was a kid growing up, our parents like monitored what we did, you know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying that parents.
My grandpa just didn't get me stuff. I had an Xbox. I was on Modern Warfare 2, I guess, but I mean, he didn't really know about that one. That was a little bit new for him. But I was only allowed to use the computer in the living room, and I didn't have a cell phone until I was 16. And he just wasn't having it. Wasn't doing it.
parents just have lost this ability. I think a lot of people just don't care to, at least as much as they should. And as a result, you know, we've seen things where like parents get frustrated. They don't want to deal with their kid crying anymore. So they throw a tablet in front of them, right? And as a result, now these kids have just been seeing shit they shouldn't be seeing all this time because they're getting unfiltered access to the internet. So now we're at a point in society where we're trying to correct the problem, not inside of the household, not in the way that we parent, but more or less, you know, with government oversight. Now, the problem with this government oversight is, you know, by verifying people's ID online, especially
Not oversight, overreach.
when it comes to using social media and whatnot, this is something that eventually evolves to where most shit will require an ID to some degree. It always starts off with like one or two things.
You're gonna have to have an ID to play Red Dead Redemption. We can't be having kids playing these violent games.
You know what I mean? They always starts, oh, we're only focusing on these things. But then gradually, you know, it just starts becoming more normal and more websites start requiring it, even if they're not smut, even if they're not garbage. And a lot of people worry that this could basically lead to an internet where in order to basically use any service or do anything, you have to verify your ID. Now, that would be a
That sounds like some China shit.
terrible thing for free speech and for free expression online. One of the main
Yeah, because they'll know exactly who said what.
ways that the internet is so powerful for the everyday person is it gives people, even people in vulnerable zones in the world, the opportunity to speak out, you know, to utilize free speech, to talk to the masses. You know, if you live in a terrible regime and you have internet with a VPN, you can speak out on the forums or you can post evidence or whatever, right? But in a world where everybody has to identify themselves before they basically use anything on the internet, it would lead to a much more restricted, you know, flow of information. This is the worries that a lot of people, including myself, have about a lot of this stuff, right? Because while I don't doubt anyone would support making sure that kids aren't seeing a lot of the shit that they shouldn't be seeing online, right? We all support making sure that kids are watching age-appropriate content. The problem with that is that realistically the only way to actually effectively enforce it in mass is to do it the one way that may, in essence, also destroy all of these other online privileges. Now, you know, Meta, they're oh, look at them. They're trying to help. They're pushing their support. The only reason that they're pushing their support is because this would pass the liability off of them. Instead of them as the platform that owns Facebook and Instagram and whatnot, they would usually be responsible for the content on their platform unless they, you know, did efforts to clear it up and whatnot, Safe Harbor Act and all these other things.
We don't have to be responsible for our platforms anymore because people are only allowed to do and say certain things now. That's what it's gonna be like.
Right? But they want to pass this on to like Apple and Google, the people who own the app stores, because if they're the ones who have to constantly, you know, monitor everything, they're the ones who have the ID verification, the restrictions that would be put in place for them get pushed onto the third party, which is an integral part to their business. Senator Mike Lee.
And then there'll just, you know what's gonna happen, right? There's gonna be an underground forum, and nobody's gonna do the right thing anymore. They're just gonna, I don't know. This is just so stupid. People are gonna get around it. It's not gonna work.
And Representative John James could introduce the legislation imminently, the people said. The bill would be...
If Apple and Google start implementing ID verification, it's just not gonna use Apple and Google anymore. I already barely do. All I use my phone for is to call and for YouTube when I'm not at my computer. Literally, that's it. I don't do anything else.
The first of its kind on Capitol Hill, where lawmakers have called for expanding guardrails for children amid concerns about the risks of social media, but where political divisions have bogged down talks. The measure would give parents the right to sue an app store if their child was exposed to certain content such as lewd or sexual material, according to a copy obtained by the Tech Brief. App stores could be protected against legal claims, however, if they took steps to prevent children against harms, such as verifying their ages and giving parents the ability to block app downloads. Such a bill would give Meta's campaign...
Why not just do that? Why not just give them ability to block the app downloads and that's it? They already do, because it doesn't work. This won't work. You know what's going to happen? Do you know what's going to happen? Because I can already tell you what's going to happen. They're not going to let kids on these platforms. So They're just going to use their parents' ID. Or their brother's ID. Or their sister's ID. Or their friend's ID. So stupid. It's ridiculous. They're acting like we're all stupid children. Which we are. But they think that we're the kind that's going to sit down in the circle and listen to the teacher in kindergarten class. No, we're the kind of children that we're going to break your stuff just for fun.
A powerful ally in Lee, the ranking Republican on the Senate's antitrust subcommittee, who has partnered with Democrats on legislation targeting Google and, yes, Meta over their dominance in digital advertising. So when you hear news like this, don't think that companies like Meta are pushing shit like this in the best interest of the people. They really care about the kids. They really care about online safety.
It's all about money. Money, 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 money.
They're doing it because they have their own personal reasons as a company for doing this. It is nothing more than a business chess game move to them, okay? Now, once again, I'm not saying that there's not problems with how the internet works and, you know, how kids are being exposed to shit online, but I do think that it is something we should discuss in terms of the side effect.
100% not on the parents. It is 100% not on us, not on the internet. It is 100% the fault of the parents not caring what their children are doing.
And the consequences that age verification could have on the grand scheme of things, right? Because this is one of those decisions, like I said, once it's actually effectively made and, you know, the first couple dominoes fall, it's something where everything eventually goes down that road. And I don't want to be the guy to be like, oh, every time you log into literally everything, every little menu on your computer, every app on your phone, you're going to have to show your ID. But in terms of...
It's already like that. It's already like that. Every time I try and sign into Google on this computer, because I'm not using Google, it's like, hey, somebody not using a Google thing is signing into your thing. Verify it. Literally every time I open up Brave, it does this. I just want to sign in and that's it. Oh, well, we do it for security reasons, so you don't get hacked. I know how to not get hacked. Leave it to me. If I get hacked, it's my fault. Give us the option. But they're not. Because we're stupid. And we're children. They want us to sit in the circle and want us to listen to the teacher. Because she knows everything.
The shit that people actually use, like social media and whatnot, these things might become more prevalent. I mean, they're already starting to show up for very specific categories in some states already. Like I said, you know, 15, 20 years ago, this would have been a lot more of a taboo topic to discuss when it comes to online privacy, age verification, ID verifications, things like that, right? But as it stands right now, it seems like America as a country is really shifting on the topic. It's starting to really shift in favor of, you know, maybe there should be more guardrails up. Maybe we should put the bumpers up on the lane a little bit here. Make sure the ball is guided where it needs to go because kids are being harmed by this shit. You know, they're rotting their brains on some of these apps. They're seeing shit and imitating shit that they shouldn't be. Now, personally, in an ideal world for me, it would always come down to the parent, right? Like as a parent,
I think the Tide Pod challenge is really what woke a lot of people up, but not enough. It didn't do enough. People forgot. And it's just getting worse. And now a lot of people know it and they just still don't care. Like everybody knows. Internet is bad. Do not let your children just be on it and people still do it. Because they're shitty people. They're shitty parents. And they don't need to have kids. If that's what they're going to do. Basically just giving your children to the state or the degenerates or both.
You should know what your children are doing. You know, you buy them a tablet, you set it in the room for Christmas or whatever. You should know what apps that they're downloading. You should know what they're searching on.
Don't give them an iPad. Don't give them a tablet. Pretty simple.
the internet, you should be monitoring what they're doing. You should be setting up time restrictions. You should be setting up parental controls. You should be blocking apps. You should be blocking websites. I think that we've gotten to a part where people are like, oh, that's what the lame parents do. The lame parents make sure their kids can't get on bad websites. The lame parents set up time restrictions. No, the parents who care about their children's development, they're the ones doing this stuff. And sure, do some people take it to a crazy fucking far extent that it doesn't need to be? Absolutely. But would I rather them take it to the far extent of, oh, my child's not allowed to watch YouTube or whatever, if it meant that, you know, kids weren't being completely fucking ruined to the point where there's legislation trying to get ID verification normalized online? I mean, come on now. I don't know. Realistically, is this going to pass? Is this going to be something that actually goes through? I don't really think so. I figure, at least in the politics of America right now, there's a lot more pressing concerns going on as to what they have their focus on, you know, the border.
I think they're definitely going to try it. I think they'll try and roll it out for trials. Like some people will be tested to have to do this. I don't think they're going to actually roll it out. I think this is dead. I think this is this really stupid move, but they're going to keep trying it until it works. It's not just going to go away. This hasn't entered the atmosphere of society and is just to disappear and nobody think about it ever again. No, that's not how this works. They will bring it back up until they can do it. And then we'll have to get rid of it, and it's going to be a long and hard battle.
Immigration, Ukraine, Israel, all these other fucking things going on that we pay for. I figure that it'll be something that probably won't be done tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like tomorrow, you're not going to have an ID to check into Facebook, right? But give it 5 or 10 years and you're going to start seeing it. And that's if the current trend continues. You're going to start seeing
it. Will.
And then people are going to be like, well, what the fuck is this? This is confusing to me. I don't understand what's going on here. But
yeah, nobody's going to even see it coming. The regular people aren't going to see it coming. I don't know anybody who actually pays attention except for me. Everybody's just watching movies, playing games. They're not watching the news. They're not seeing what's trending. They're not seeing what people are saying. They're not paying attention to the election climate. I had somebody yesterday call me right wing because I pay attention to what's going on in the news. I didn't even say anything that had anything to do with Trump or Biden or anybody. It was just an observation about what's going on between Ukraine and Russia. And they were like, oh, you need to stay off the far right. And it's far right YouTube space. Whatever he called it. I don't even know what he called the far right YouTube space. There was a word for it he used. But like, come on. Tell me that you're not paying attention without telling me you're not paying attention.
By that time, even if, you know, there's bad consequences that start popping out for shit like this, the genie is already out of the bottle by that point. You know what I mean? You've already started pushing society one way. You know, the pendulum may swing back, but it would take time. And it would take a lot of effort to undo all of that political shit, right? So I guess we'll have to see how this continues to develop. Like I said, I don't expect this to like be something done tomorrow. But if you keep seeing this trend continue, you're going to see more and more states and more people opening up to this idea until the point where it just becomes the norm. And it might become like a federal thing, right? So anyway, with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shoptimus down below. Thank you to my Watch Optimus subscribers.
Yeah, so that's a thing that's definitely gonna happen. Like, it's not gonna happen right away. And it's gonna fail probably the first time, second time, even the third time. Eventually, they will implement it. Unless we get rid of these people that are trying to do all this crap. Put in protections and be like, hey, how about you just be a better parent instead of punishing everybody who had nothing to do with this? Oh well, let them do it. Let them do it. We'll just break it.